nice, and really, well, we'll see if I'm going to get slammed. Probably won't be able to make, we'll see, it should work. Can't believe I'm in the middle of the GTA and I'm getting zapped already. We'll see. But folks, that was it. Miracle on Ice. And just deserve highlighting 1980 to 2026 and Canada's want and need for the communist transition. It was fought on ice today. And just like Soviet Union with everything Canada had, USA stood strong, and in the end, they get the overtime goal. No different than it was in 1980 against the former Soviet Union that literally 7 years later would fall in a failed economic transition that doesn't work. Communism doesn't work. Mark Carney is a communist, as are all the conservatives in serious majority and absolutely all the liberals. This is where Canada's crown wishes to go. All premiers alike in clear majority. Many Canadians are blind to the large-scale media propaganda coming from all Canadian media sources. The same propaganda they fed the Soviets, the Soviet Union. Don't worry, as government balloons, government gets stronger, elbows up, work harder for less and less and less, as more debt befell each and every generation until they couldn't handle the weight of the system anymore. And that's where Canada's going. And USA delivered this mighty blow, really poetic justice, a realization from 1980 that would be the leading and coming fall of the Soviet Union, which is going to befall Canada as the number one lover of communist China in its economic transition towards China that Canada began a very long time ago, long before Donald J. Trump ever entered politics. People want to deny what we can't deny. The Bureau of Statistics, United States of America. I put those records out. People don't want to look at it, don't want to acknowledge the winners and losers in trade with USA. And of course, the biggest loser being China. And who is their number one highly invested single Western source? Well, that's Canada, second biggest loser in trade. But of course, these are for the years 2024 and 2025. Wait a minute, Donald J. Trump wasn't in office in 2024. That was Joe Biden. That was the Americans grinding down Canada. The Democrats were grinding down Canada. Folks, the problem Canada has is its deep communist ties with China, specifically the province of Alberta, specifically the Conservative Party of Canada's efforts to destabilize the United States of America on the world stage, beginning in 2026, by the reports and the recommendations of Governor of the Bank of Canada, Mark Carney, who made no secret of his love of communism, of China, and its magical system. You think Trudeau was new? Stephen Harper was the one who started it all. He was the economist. He was the prime minister who started the transition. And it started an experiment in a province called Alberta with the also destruction of Premier Ralph Klein. It was Stephen Harper who created the new equalization formula that Albertans scream about today. wasn't Justin Trudeau. He has no economic brain for that. He couldn't put together any kind of administration for that. No, it was all the careful crafting of Stephen Harper and Mark Carney. Now, of course, Trudeau loves communism. He's right in there like a dirty shirt. His family always has been. But make no mistake, conservatives started this aggressive road, this transition, this that highlights what America has to do with Canada. And it's Trump who's the most vocal, but he certainly didn't start the investigation on Canada or start the transition away from trade with Canada. But he's going to finish it. He's going to finish it. He's going to decolonize Canada. If you haven't seen the latest news, you're going to learn about it all today. What's not covered by your propaganda Canada. Not only have we lost massive trade because of our serious love of China and our transition to communist China's economy, but now Alberta, who brags publicly today exactly what I told you all in many X spaces. I did many presentations on all these projects. Well, Danielle Smith rolls out how she's going to ramp up to over 9 million barrels a month of Alberta crude, largely out to the Pacific, and many more pipelines to come. Right now we have TC Energy, half owned and invested by the Communist Party of China. All of that's for China against the United States of America. Yes, Alberta's energy future is based on supplying China's military complex against United States' military complex via Alberta, via Premier Alberta Danielle Smith. She goes on to say how she wants to get out to the Pacific upwards of 9 million barrels a day, which will end all oil in Alberta, she says. We're going to build a $250 billion heritage fund so that Albertans don't ever have to rely on natural resources because they won't have any anymore shortly after 2050. Maybe by 2057. Definitely there will be no more natural gas long before 2050. By 2046, Albertans won't be able to heat their home. In fact, no Canadians will be able to. That's Danielle Smith's plan with her new business partner, CBC China. Yeah, Calgary's TC Energy. But that's okay, right? USA loves that idea, right? And then they love the idea that you're going to deprive their military complex of a 97-year reserve of fuel and energy for their military-industrial complex so that China can have it all by 2050 through Alberta, right? That's a great idea. Let's build the communist regime to the most powerful military in the world so they can destroy USA. Let's adopt Alberta's Alberta Advantage immigration program for military and commercial pilots to be trained in the old Alberta Penhold military base that's owned and operated by CPC, Communist Party of China, where since 2011 they've been training pilots that get priority citizenship into Alberta, so that when we get the F-35s in Cold Lake, all the Chinese specialist engineers, aerospace mechanics, reverse engineers, and pilots can figure out the F-35s, and then that way they can destroy and disseminate American Air Force, right? Let's continue to supply and support all of China's Navy over Arctic security so USA has none. Let's become communist. This has been going on for over 20 years by liberals and conservatives. Started by conservatives, ramped up by liberals, and now entirely by the architect from the conservatives who runs the liberals. Pierre Poilievre says he has no idea, even though he received by two CSIS reports, Canada's CIA CSIS reports took two CPC payments for his decision on the Canada-China FIPA deal as committee chair and head under Stephen Harper. But don't worry, you can trust a liberal or a conservative today in Canada. Elbows up, right? Folks, we're in a ton of trouble. This hockey game highlights the future of Canada. We'll be lucky if we have 7 years of sustainability left of Canada, just like the former Soviet Union. That's what today's hockey game marks. As it was for the Soviet Union, so it shall be for Canada. That was the crowning achievement for Team USA today. You're lucky, Canada, if you have 7 years left before you're a Cuba, Venezuela economy. God bless everybody. That's my video. See you today at 4 o'clock as we go through the videos, the reels that I can't make up. Politicians like Daniel Smith and Mark Carney over the last 10 years. Last year, in fact. Let's see Daniel Smith a year ago, Daniel Smith today. Let's see reports and warnings from the federal government on Daniel Smith's actions in 2022 and 2023. You tell me what's going on, because if I were an American, I would be targeting these people as enemies of the state, the national security of the United States of America. In fact, if I was in the Pentagon, I would have their faces up on a board as top enemies of America today, foreign threats to USA's national security. God bless. That's my video. Stay tuned for 4 o'clock. You can hear it right out of the horse's mouth. A reminder for brain-dead Canadians and Albertans, and also for Alberta separatists, because Rath said some things.
In 800 meters, merge onto Ontario 401 East.
Rath said some things that he plans to do with Alberta and independence that is deadly against the interests of the United States of America. I'm going to prove all that today at 4 o'clock too. America knows what's going on. They know what's wrong with Canada. They know what they have to do with Greenland. They know what they have to end with Iceland and Canada over Greenland. And it's Greenlanders, the actual Greenlanders, who want it done. Canada, you have no idea. You've been fed too much propaganda. You're as indoctrinated as Nazi Germans, as the Soviets of the former Soviet Union. You've been misled by your government. You've eaten the propaganda. Propaganda, you should clearly know as an adult, is propaganda when they flip-flop 180 degrees in just a year's time. Listen to these people a year ago, listening to them today. You can't be one or the other. You can't flip to one extreme or the other unless you're the problem, unless you're the absolute evil. That's my video. Be there on X today at 4 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss it. It's a big one. God bless. Bye now. A miracle on ice happened today. God bless America and Team USA. Bye now.